Good morning, Magic players. Welcome to the morning show where we discuss all things Magic the Gathering. You got questions that need answered? Be part of the discussion, and let's have a great talk about Magic this morning. We also do deck list review. So if you got a 75 or some spicy list that you want to share with all of us, please submit it to us, and both myself and the community can give feedback on it. So brew up your cup of coffees and brew up the mat so that we can brew up the magic. Welcome to Coffee and MTG for March 23rd, 2021. Usually it's the date, I forget, not the year. I'm Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and let's have a great morning this morning. Good morning, Frederick. Good morning, D Canadian Bacon and Thopter Boy. And Rebecca, good morning. Good morning, Steve Desane. Yes, it's coffee time. And Jack Torborg. Good morning, Nikachu. So excited for Strixhaven spoilers. You know what? Yeah, you're right. The Strixhaven are starting to get spoilers. Well, we already have some spoilers, right? We got some Strixhaven spoilers. Let's go check some of them out. I'm going to go to my favorite Mythic spoiler. I don't know if this is the best spoiler site. They're a little bit slow. But they do get... Oh, we have two of them. Okay, so I'm going to learn about one of them along with the rest of you. Ugh. Hold on, let me show you what I'm seeing. I just can't... How do I... There we go. Perfect. So we, I guess there are two that have been revealed so far. I was aware of Professor Onyx. I was hearing people talk about Kasmina, but I didn't know that this was a real... I thought they were just talking about the old Kasmina, in all honesty. Beautiful picture, though. Love the owls. Let's go check out Professor Onyx, which is a Liliana. Liliana, not of the Veil, but Liliana, period, is now a professor in... I guess one day she decided those who can do and those who can't teach, right, Liliana? Just not what you used to be. So Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This sounds like a storm. It sounds like what's it called? Tendrils of Agony, right? So whenever you cast a spell, you're gonna drain your opponent's life. It's 6 mana, making it very close to unplayable for constructed competitive play. Plus, when you lose a life, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You put 1 in your hand, the rest in the graveyard. Very strong ability. -3, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power amongst the creatures they control. That's nice. So, you know, the good thing is going to die. And -8, each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat this process 6 more times. 6 more times. So as well, I mean, what do you guys think of Professor Onyx? A lot of people like the picture. The first thing people will talk about is just the picture. They don't really care about the card all that much. I'm gonna get the thing for the picture. Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, Steve Desane. Good morning, Jack Torbor. Oh, I went over these. Good morning, Stefano, Mikey J, Swordman, Josh, Marty, the Iron Warlock, the main ones. Direwolf, good morning. OGW. I'm doing great. Dren Gao, Stefano, Matthew, Spencer Ward, D Canadian Bacon, Gaspacho, Dren Gao. Niv Mizzet wasn't too pleased with her, I guess. Is Niv Mizzet like the head professor, like the dean? That'd be hilarious. You get some villain as the dean, or like like something like Nico Bolas is like the person in charge of the entire school. Okay, Kasmina. I don't know what the hell this card is, but 3 mana. I mean, that's worth something. Each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kasmina, Enigma Sage. Each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty ability. So every other planeswalker has her abilities. +2, scry 1. -X, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, and -8, search your library for an instant or sorcery card that shares a color with this planeswalker. Exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. This is garbage. Like, this is just garbage. This is a terrible card. This is so bad. Isn't this like... what is it? Isn't this like the blue-green Nissa? What is the difference? So, at least for Nissa, you get to look at the top card of your library. If it's a land or a creature card with convert mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa, you may put that card onto the battlefield. So actually, you could... I guess it's very similar. This looks so similar. It doesn't even look that different at all. What is the ultimate? Untap up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5. I think that ultimate's better than this one, because this one's even harder to achieve. Anyway, this is a huge disappointment. This whole +2 scry 1 thing is garbage. There's certainly better ones out. There's certainly better abilities out there, in my opinion. Nicol Bolas is... Oh, Nicol Bolas is Voldemort? Yeah, maybe that makes more sense. Wow, we have more than 50 people in under 3 minutes. People want to see the spoilers. Professor Onyx seems pretty weak, even for Standard. Well, you never know what can happen in Standard. In Standard, anything can happen. So, I mean, this card could see some play in Standard. There's been a lot of, like, 6-mana Planeswalkers that I've seen. There are 7-mana Planeswalkers that I've seen play in Standard. So, actually, we could see... I could see Professor Onyx seeing Standard play. But not Pioneer, not Modern, not Legacy. And Kazmina is not going to see any play anywhere. Maybe, well, again, maybe Standard if there's like a really good deck that has synergy. The Scrub in Scrubs got your coffee. Let's go. Yes, let's all get our coffees ready. Let's talk. In a game of Commander, Kazmina with Teferi, Master of Time, means you get to ultimate Teferi on your next turn. Gross. Oh, and good morning. Okay, good morning. So there might be some synergy between Kazmina and other cards, but not by herself, that's for sure. All right, everyone, you know the deal. 3 question marks before the question, 3 question marks after the question. It helps me find your questions amongst all the comments that I'm receiving from multiple YouTube channels and a Facebook fan page. Or if you're on YouTube, you can cheat the system with super chats. If you donate something more than $3, your question gets put like at the top of my notification. If it's under, I might see it, but it will just be highlighted in the chat, but I don't know when I'll get to it. Just fair warning. It's like a glitch with YouTube or this thing that I'm using. This client that I'm using called StreamYards. Jason says, what's up, Nikachu? Do you think GTA will be unbanned? If yes, will she be played? I mean, first off, I don't know if they'll unban this one. I don't know if they'll unban Umzao's GTA. I think you can unban this. I think you can clearly unban this, but I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for like R&D's decisions, and so I can't tell. Will it be played? Absolutely. It will, of course, be played. It will definitely see play. It will just replace one of the equipment from one of the Stoneblade decks. That's all. And then maybe other decks will play it in the sideboard as a one-of or something, but that is a huge maybe because we are in a removal-heavy format, Modern, and it's so it's a big liability to cast your GTA for 2, equip, and then your creature dies. That's a huge risk because you could be at that moment you could be so far behind you can't win anymore because you weren't interacting with your opponent. They now have full reign to like blast you at the face. So anyway, it's a huge risk to play and equip a GTA. Mikey J, does this Kazmina's +2 make any of the uncommon planeswalkers from War of the Spark playable now? Maybe. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna guess no, but maybe. Like, that's a good point. Like, the real value of Kazmina really is just each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kazmina, Enigma Mage, or Enigma Sage. But the deal is you have to be in the Simic colors. Like, you have to. Which is tough to make work. What would you think of Shardless Agent in Modern Horizons 2? I think it'd be totally fair. I think Shardless Agent would be perfect for Modern. I think it'd be totally fine. Absolutely fine. Professor Onyx seems destined for Arena Brawl. That is possible. That is possible. McGengar, how Brain Freeze would impact Modern if reprinted in Modern Horizons 2? Probably, it'd probably just be a one-of in the sideboard, or maybe one-of in the main deck for Storm. It wouldn't be a highly played card. Like, it would just be another Storm tool. Like, if the opponent, for example, I'm not sure what the board state is, But if for some reason the opponent is indestructible, there's no way to target. Like there's no way. Well, this card still targets. If for some reason the opponent cannot lose life and die that way, Brain Freeze can just mill them to death. Would not be a you could print this into Modern. I don't think it'd really do very much. Jack Torborg said, had to step away for a second, but seriously, considered Kazmina in a Super Friends build of Spell Shift for fun with Spell Shift in the side, Wish Package, and her ultimate hitting Primal Surge. You do what you got to do. The +2 will, if you can defend your Kazmina, then it would help. The problem is defending it. Your thoughts on the new Elder Dragons announced? I have no ideas what those are. Where do I find that information? New MTG Elder Dragons. Three Strixhaven commanders revealed. Hold on. Strix. Are there more cards here? No. Nothing's been actually spoiled. I have no... Is there any... Okay, well, is there any information? Oh, are there Elder Dragons for Modern Horizons 2? I've never heard of it. Have no comment. Not yet, at least. Eldrazi-tron or Mono Green-tron as a first Modern deck? Both are really good. Both are fine. Maybe Eldrazi-tron is a little bit easier to play because it's literally just play creatures, bash face. Maybe not, because there's creature combat. You know, maybe I'm wrong about that. I think they're both on a very similar power level, so it just comes down to, if you like a little bit more to a control deck, play regular Greentron. If you like to play a little bit more to like a mid-range deck / aggro deck, go, if you like to play with creatures, go with Eldrazi-tron. The Scrub and Scrubs, do you think there will be some new playable elementals in Modern Horizons? You never know. I can't predict those things. I don't know any rhyme or reason for anything that Wizards does. I mean, I was so damn certain. Well, I mean, I guess I was right. They did give Sliver support, but I really thought they were going to reprint Crystalline Sliver and like give Sliver some very serious cards that we had access to in Legacy. Do you think the Emery looping Bobble in Modern Merfolk is worth Emery having a spot in the deck? Maybe. I playtested a little bit with Emery, not in Merfolk, but in an Urza deck, and it didn't... My Emery died very often. When she lived, it was great. You were looping Bobble, you were gaining a lot of cards, but she died pretty often, so I don't know if it'd be worth it. But, I mean, I did start thinking about it, because between 4 Bobble, 4 Chalice of the Void, maybe 1 random Engineered Explosives to blow up, like, 1-mana creatures like Swift Spear and Soulscar Mage, maybe it'd be worth it, but I don't know yet. Hunter Graph, are there any cards in Modern you believe are super underrated? Cards? Yes, there are cards that I think are underrated. There are cards that need a home, for example. I mean, well, we sort of had this discussion before, and I asked people, what cards do you think are like really good and they just haven't had a home yet? And then everyone just listed their shitty pet card that they just like, but it just doesn't have a chance of being good at all. What is it? The Royal Silence. Like, this is an incredibly good card that hasn't been broken yet. Again, a 3-mana Planeswalker gets to the same amount of loyalty as Oko. Loots, so you can exchange bad cards for good cards. Very relevant. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike ability. And the ultimate is like almost game winning. You know, you draw a bunch of cards, you deal an enormous amount of damage. It's like, this is an underrated card, for example. Hasn't found the right build yet. Has not found the right build yet. But, I mean, there are tons of cards that are waiting for a home. You know, for example, another card that waited forever and it finally found it was... what's the tutor for equipment? There's a tutor for equipment. I don't remember. Oh, there we go. Actually, that's a good one. Kai's Gal was very underrated. Well, the problem is Kai's Gal was never well positioned. No, that's not a good way of putting it. It did, like, Kai's Gal is another one of those that didn't have a home yet. It needs to be in an Orzhov deck or an Esper deck or Esper or Abzan or something, and it needed no, not Open the Armory, the 1-mana one. Steel Shaper's Gift. Like, like tutors. First off, tutoring. Let's look at tutors, for example. Let's look at mystical tutor. What does this do? Yeah. Okay, so you look at mystical tutor. This card's banned in Legacy. This is how powerful a tutor is. For 1 mana instant, search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal that card, put it, then shuffle your library, and put the card on top. Put the card that you tutor on top of your library. You still have to wait a turn in order to get it. I mean, not a big deal. You can tutor at end of turn and you draw it immediately. But this power level of this tutor is banned in Legacy. Now let's look at Steel Shaper's Gift. 1 mana, sorcery, not instant, but search your library for an equipment card, reveal that card, put it into your hand. Just get it immediately. Very underrated card. Didn't have a home though. But now we've seen the power of Colossus Hammer. Just 1 L. Those 2 S's. But now we've seen the power of Colossus Hammer. Well, we now realize this card now does have a home. It has a purpose. So anyway, there's a lot of really underrated cards. Absolutely. Tons of great cards in Magic. They just waiting for a home. Adopt me. Put me in your deck. That's what they're crying for. Meme Master. I answered this question. Sorry about that. Oops. Where am I? Steve asked, with Jund Shadow dying to blue-white, is Rakdos Shadow going to make a comeback, and what replaces Bomat Courier? Jund Shadow's doing great. Like, Jund Shadow is doing amazing. I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from. Jund Shadow, blue-white is not making the top 32 of like modern events very well. We've had now quite a few opens, and looks like I know Control is very popular right now, but Control is struggling to have a presence in a very big open event. Control is doing great in leagues. It's doing consistently there in very small events, but when you go to a big event, it's Jund Shadow at the top. Like the top 8s and top 32s are getting filled up with Jund Shadow. So actually, I don't know where this is coming from. Jund Shadow is actually really well positioned. Really, really strong deck. Mitch J again with the super chat. Thank you so much, Mitch. Good morning, Nick. Haven't been able to join lately. My work schedule has been demanding. Well, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Do you load and unload the your truck? I mean, that's demanding. That's hard to follow the stream while you're doing that. Mitch J, trucker, delivering the goods. Anyway, thank you very much for the super chat, Mitch. Professor Onyx and Chain of Smog? I don't even know what Chain of Smog is. Target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand. That player may copy the spell and may choose a new target for that copy. Does that... So can that win? Target player discards 2 cards from their hand. That player may copy this. No, that doesn't work, because then the opponent I get it. The opponent will just stop the chain. I mean, they just won't let it go on for any longer. Because then that player will be like, well, I don't want this Liliana thing to keep going on, so I'll just opt to not do this again. No more Chain of Smogs. Chain broken. Mega Rage Man, would Wizards of the Coast be so bold to actually put Counterspell, Force of Will, or Mana Drain in Modern Horizons 2? There's no chance they'll put Mana Drain. I mean, if they're not gonna, if they have a hard time putting Counterspell in the format, they won't put Mana Drain. I don't even know why Mana Drain is banned though in Legacy. That doesn't make any sense. I think Counterspell's still on the table. That's possible. I think Counterspell is still on the table. Wouldn't count Counterspell out. There's a lot of pros that thought it was like, oh yeah, this is definitely going in. It just ended up not going in. But I wouldn't take Counterspell off the table. I think that's still very possible. Force of Will. You know what? They made Force of Negation. I think for a reason. So because they made Force of Negation, I don't think we're going to see Force of Will. And also Force of Negation is not too bad. I don't know, maybe if blue is really suffering, they'll print Force of Will. But we need to really see them suffer. Blue has sort of had their time in the sun for over a year now. So I don't think it's going to happen. Kiora, Behemoth, Beckner plus Kesmina for next turn ultimate. Well, I mean, but it's still, you need to spend 2 turns to put the Planeswalkers in play, right? So, I mean, you're still taking a turn to put them in play. I mean, like, all the ultimates are not, like, immediately game-winning. Doesn't Kasmina with the 3-mana Narset look really good? You guys are overrating this. Like, who cares? Okay, you can tick up. So you take it up, but then next turn you can tick down. I mean, Narset's just pretty good just sitting on the battlefield. I mean, like, plussing the loyalty seems to be pretty over. I don't want to say it's overrated. Like, of course it's going to help all the Planeswalkers you play. You'll get closer to everybody's ultimate, but you have to, A, you need to be in a Simic deck, and B, you need to take the time to set both these Planeswalkers up. They both have to be on the battlefield and alive. So I don't see any groundbreaking combo about the Planeswalkers having +2 scry. But maybe I'm underrating the other abilities, like the -X and put a creature on the battlefield. I don't know. We're just gonna have to see how people break Kasmina. Thomas Perry, tips on winning a blue X control mirror in Modern. I never win Counter Wars, or I start one too soon. Don't start one too soon. So very important in a control mirror, make your land drops. This is very, very important. You need to have more mana than the other player. You have a starting hand of 5 lands and 2 random cards. Keep it. You need to make your land drops, and you need to constantly threaten to beat up your opponent. Play at the end of their turn, make them tap out so that you can make a play on your turn and tap out. So like that's when you should start things. But the player who has more mana is going to be the one that can win, or the one that's going to be more well positioned. Wirewood Symbiote feels too strong for Modern, but what about a reprint of Quirion Ranger? I think they could print either one. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, there's just still so much removal in Modern. It's not even close. We don't... Oh. So, I mean, this is reasonable. Return a force you control to its owner's hand to untap target creature. Use this ability only once each turn. I think you can reprint anything. What, you can reprint Wirewood Symbiote. Elves basically sees no play. You know, let's be serious. Return an elf you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, activate this ability only once each turn. I think this is totally fine. Maybe this is even better because you need some way of beating Plague Engineer. And I don't know if that beats it, but you know, if they name elf, the insect will live. Aztec Guy says, I've already seen talk about Kasmina adding loyalty counters to Narset, considering many of those Planeswalkers didn't have a plus ability anyway. Kasmina could potentially be huge. I really don't think so. In Commander, maybe. In actual competitive Magic, very unlikely. $27 Noetic. Is Strixhaven just the jank Harry Potter crossover like The Walking Dead, but Hasbro just didn't want to shell out the money for it? Nope. I mean, very much like what Wizards does over and over again is they just adapt some idea from some culture or some other IP, and they make it their own. So this is going to be... It's just like how in Theros, you know, we didn't have Zeus or anything. We had Thassa, we had Heliod, we had all these other characters. So they're very seriously just making their own thing. That's all. You know one thing? I want to get back to this Kasmina card. Where's the Kasmina card? I hope I'm still not underrating the +2 scry on all the other planeswalkers. So let's say you play a random planeswalker first. and then Kazmina comes out the next turn, and then you immediately get to scry. But the problem is, like, if you play a Planeswalker, let's say you play Narset first. If you minus it, it's gonna die. Like 100%. But if you don't do anything, maybe it can live. And then on the following turn, you play Kazmina, and then you +2 both of them. But then still, how do you protect either of them? Like, that's my problem. Like, if you can't protect the Planeswalker, you still can't protect the Planeswalker. So I don't know how much Kazmina is actually helping the other Planeswalkers. Mango Hub, what modern decks do you think would make a good first deck to start building? Burn, Prowess, maybe Storm. It's cheap, but it's like, it's not for everybody. Mutagenic Growth and Blitz, they played that already. They got that. Not in all the lists, but some of them do. How close is Night Tribal to being a thing? I mean, for all we know, Night Tribal is a thing already, but no one's built the deck. I mean, we've got millions of Knights in Modern. Like, there's tons of Knights. And I'm sure there is some crossover with some Knights in... I'm sure... Well, actually, I don't know if there are many Knights in the Humans deck. But Knights totally could be a thing. Brandon says, what card do you think would be a good substitute for Snapcaster Mage? There is one good one. And there's only one good one. And that is... What's the 6-mana Snapcaster Mage, people? What's the 6-mana Snapcaster Mage? No. There's a 6-mana creature. Something Gearhulk. Celestial... no, not Celestial. Torrential Gearhulk. Okay, so this is your bet. This is... And it's a good substitute. You know what? Like, this is a good substitute. It's good for 2 reasons. First off, it's fucking big, all right? So you pay 6 mana, but you're getting your money's worth. You're getting your money's worth here. It's a 5/6 creature. Flash, when Torrential Gearhulk enters the battlefield, you may cast target an instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So the deal is you don't pay any mana to flash back the card. You get it for free. So, I mean, like, if you have Snapcaster Mage and you try to flashback Cryptic Command, you'd spend 6 mana anyway. Now, I know that this is going to be much harder to flashback, like Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, Opt, and stuff like that. But the body makes up for it. Like, this is a very good blocker and a very good attacker. This can be your win condition in your deck. It's definitely worth it. I mean, and the price reflects it. I mean, this is no bullshit card. I mean, it's still an $8 card here. Probably sees mostly commander play, but this is a good card. Like, this is a really, really good card. We got everyone. Thanks. You'll save me. Yes, the Gearhulk. But which one? The Torrential Gearhulk. So this is a pretty serious card. I don't know if you're trying to, like, you're doing this as a budget with Snapcaster Mage cost, according to this website. Yeah, so Snapcaster Mage for a playset, for one Snapcaster Mage, you can definitely buy, like, 3 of these, or I mean, you can get 4 of these. Actually, you still have money left over. So I mean, this is a very good budget version of Snapcaster Mage, but you can't jam a million of these in your deck. I think you can play like 2 or 3 because it is expensive. You don't want to flood out on this card, but it's a very good card. This is a very good card. Yeah, you get to cast the instant for free. So this is very, very strong. This is interesting. Aspiring Spike's advice has always been, don't look for cards that do similar things, like Mission Briefing. Look for, in a vacuum, powerful cards. Just run into the story or Factor Fiction instead. Well, I mean, Factor Fiction, but the problem is Factor Fiction is not as good if you can't use the graveyard. You know, right? I don't know if that was exactly his suggestion to play Factor Fiction over Snapcaster Mage, but it is card advantage. Still, nonetheless. But the greatest thing about Factor Fiction is that you get the cards in hand and you can still utilize the cards in the graveyard. This card individually is still pretty good. Like, this is a powerful card. It's just clunky, that's all. But if you can wait to the end. Gearhulk is actually the main win con in Pioneer Blue-Black Control. Someone just went 19-1 in this month's Mana Trader rounds, you see? Like, it's a very competent card. It's a very competent card. This is not a bullshit card. You can see it, it's priced accordingly. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, there. So with the what's it called? Or the chains again. Chain of Smog. So you don't kill yourself. So you target yourself with Liliana. That's quite a hell of a combo. Target player, you target yourself. That player may copy this spell for that and may choose a new target for the copy. And then when you combine that with Liliana, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So you just need to make sure you have 20 cards left in your deck. Okay, that works. That totally works. Absolutely. Yeah, target player. That exactly works. Still don't... hold on. Does this become a real combo now? Maybe this is a real combo. Because, like, the mana cost is not that insane in Legacy, right? Like, maybe the mana cost is not that insane. You just need to, like... I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking Magical Christmas Land, but between like, you know, Grim Monolith and Dark Rituals and other rituals, you can get Professor Onyx out and then play Chain of Smog. Like, it's just a 2-card combo, basically. Maybe the combo is more playable than I think, because I mean that's a pretty serious combo. I mean it is a 2-card combo, both in black, so you don't have to splash. Technically, you don't have to splash any other colors. Anyway, thanks for letting me know. Cool stuff. How do you store all your cards? I think I have a problem, and isn't bad to keep them in attic or basement. Well, you need to pick the one that's more dry, and the basement is the worst of them because it's usually more moist in the basement. You'd have to be guaranteed that it's very, very dry in your basement. You might as well... It needs to be in a dry place, ideally. I just keep mine in a filing cabinet at the moment. I wouldn't say it's the safest thing. I'm not super overly protective, but like I just try to keep them away from moisture. So if it's your closet, then maybe put them in your closet. Are Bant Spirits or Azorius Spirits better and are either tier 1 right now? Well, it depends on your definition of tier 1. I would say Spirits are a very strong archetype right now, but a lot of people consider decks a tier deck based on how often it's winning, you know, and by how many different people. And the answer is you shouldn't look at it as Bant Spirits versus Azorius Spirits. You should just think it as Spirits, and you should be flexible to play either Bant or Azorius at any given time. That's the important thing. Because Bant, you might need the speed to beat decks like Heliod Company, and Bant will do that. Or you don't, or against, I think, in my opinion, I'm talking out of my ass here, but against more removal heavy decks, you want to go Azorius, because that Noble Hierarch sometimes is either a liability or is just not a threat in itself, and it does, and Collected Company doesn't compensate always for that. So you just have more mana sources, you can get ground down a lot easier. Hardest metagame deck to beat in your personal opinion? Hardest metagame deck? You mean like a deck that like people are not prepared for? I don't know. That's like a weird question to ask. Let's see. What do you guys... Give me some meta game decks, like decks that are in a vacuum not good, but are well positioned every so often because it just hits the meta game in the right way. Oh, Rearrange backing me up here. Nah, you're on point. I just 5-0'd with Blue White yesterday, and Bant feels like I'm flailing my arms in Modern because Hierarch dies so easily. Yeah, like you get these hands with Noble Hierarch, and like you got to keep them, and then if they kill it, then your hand sucks. I mean, it's a high variance card, very high variance. Maybe Hammer Time is a good one, but only because, yeah, there's no artifact hate right now. Although there is a lot of removal right now. There is a shitload of removal, big time removal. You know what, Dan? I will most definitely would do that. Making a tier list of the most challenging decks to play, I will definitely do that. In fact, I'll write that down. I have a lot of tier list ideas. That's a good one. Challenging decks to play. AKA hardest decks to play. Oh, well, Blitz, I wouldn't. Blitz is still a very powerful deck. It's winning easily. It's still making top 8s, top 32s, so. I wouldn't call Dredge a metagame deck. Like, I want to, like, in my mind, a metagame deck is like something like sometimes Ponza, although that's just turned into a stable mid-range deck at this point. But more like something like red deck, not red deck wins, like mono red prison. That's definitely like more of a metagame deck. When everyone is not ready for it, boom! Blood Moon and Chalice of the Void get you good. And then maybe when the positioning is right, Bogles or something like that, you know? Like decks that are not always well positioned, but when they are, like they're unbeatable. Maybe Bogles is a very good example. Like if the metagame's not prepared for Bogles, that's when it like wins GPs and stuff. Actually, I don't know if it ever won a GP without being piloted by a cheater, but it has won big events by very, very strong players. I have no idea where I am, so... Elder Gargroth in Modern, it sees play. You didn't know? It's play... Hold on, it's the right card, right? Elder Gargroth. Yeah, this card sees play. It's a Modern staple for a while now. It sometimes replaces Thragtusk in certain lists. Like I see this in Red Green Ponza. It was played a little bit in the the Uro control decks. Those are gone now, but we still have Ponza. Like all the abilities are relevant, so it is a modern playable card, and reflected in the price too. Although it's probably also a very good commander card, I'm sure. Ian Adar got absolutely manhandled by the green-white Heliod combo deck. What can I get in the sideboard of my Simic deck to help? What kind of Simic deck? Are you talking Simic Merfolk? Simic Merfolk will have trouble because this is a creature combo deck, and we just don't have a lot of removal. Like, the main way to beat, like, a green-white Heliod combo deck is just snipe everything down. If it hits the battlefield, you kill it! You just kill everything. Don't let them have an inch of anything on the battlefield. Just kill everything. So... like, it's hard for them to combo off if you have, like, an abundance of removal. Like, a super abundance of removal. You just can't... you just don't have access to that stuff. So the best thing you can do is play things like Pithing Needle and Sorcerous Spyglass to name either Walking Ballista or Spike Feeder to prevent them from comboing off. But still, it's a bit of an uphill battle, honestly. Well, Force of Vigor doesn't even do anything. A Heliod is indestructible. It's problems. Heartless Summons, meme or real card? I think it's a meme. I think it's a meme today, but obviously shows that has potential maybe tomorrow. All the decks so far that have been made out of Heartless Summons is like is just a super meme. Gargroth and Greentron, maybe 2 green as a cost too much. Yeah, I think it's too much because they're usually operating off of 1 green mana and a bunch of colorless mana, so that's a bit tough. They'll still play Ragtusk more often than not. Have I seen Gargroth and Tron? Maybe I have, but I don't remember. I don't think so. Would you review a Pauper deck if I submitted it? Yes, I would. We don't do Commander. We don't do limited decks. Commander, I'm not reading every single individual 100 cards, and I don't even know what many of these cards are. I would take an hour and a half just trying to get through a Commander deck, and I have no way. I can give no suggestions whatsoever. And a limited deck, like, get out of here. Like, who cares? You're just flexing some limited deck that you played. Or maybe that's not true. Like, if you really want good limited feedback, which first off, I can't give, you need to see the whole card pool. So you see the deck, the curve, but you also see all the other cards that you had available that you did not play. Stream of Thought for Mill? Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. You shuffle up to 4 cards from your graveyard into your library. I don't think this is good synergy because they want to play with... you don't want to... Oh, no, you get to say you shuffle up to 4 cards. But still, like, the idea is that you're going to use this again. Every single mill card has to mill a lot. That's why and 4 cards is just too few. It's just too small. And the second half is not even playable for yourself because of Visions of Beyond. Is it Visions of Beyond or... Yeah, Visions of Beyond. Draw a card if a graveyard has... Oh, no, it is if a graveyard, so it doesn't have to necessarily be your own. But sometimes it is. Sometimes it's your own graveyard. Sometimes it is. I think this is just too little. Like, even maddening the Cacophony doesn't see play. Because the Mill Pro is like, 8 cards, that's not enough. Screw this. So anyway. And this is, I know it's 1 mana, but it's just important that the card individually mills as many cards as possible. David says, is Modern the most diverse competitive format, both from a deck diversity standpoint and play pattern standpoint? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so, like, in Legacy, for example, like, I think there are just a lot of really unique deck lists or archetypes in Modern, like, very unique. I mean, of course, we have some variations of Shadow, but then in Legacy, there's, like, a chunk of, like, Delver variants, a chunk of Dark Depths variants. I feel like the range of actual archetypes in Legacy is a lot smaller. Like, I feel like the play patterns are more common in Legacy than in Modern. And like, and then if you just look at the raw number of archetypes, I think Modern just has more. Just a lot more fringe decks too. A lot more fringe. Like, that's a big thing in Modern. The power level is low enough. It's a powerful format, but it's low enough that a lot of fringe stuff can exist, so long as it's a turn 4 format. Whereas in Legacy, it pushes out a lot of fringe decks. Like, if you just want to brew something for fun and see how it does, a lot less likely it's going to work out, because then the fucking show and tell player shows up and just wins on turn 2, turn 3, and you just can't do anything about it. So Modern is more fair to the fringe players. All right, everyone. You know what time it is? It's time for deck list review. So in my go to my description. In my description, there is a link to my Discord. Go to join my Discord, and in my Discord there is a channel called Decklist Review. And in Decklist Review, you can enter the command !review deck space, give the URL to your deck list, and you'll be eligible at random to be picked for Decklist Review. You're chosen at random, people, so don't worry if it says your position. It doesn't matter. And as people are submitting their deck list for Decklist Review, we're going to thank our sponsors, starting with FusionGamingOnline.com, Canadian local game store where you can buy boosters, singles, boxes, sleeves, deck boxes, and more. You can even pre-order Time Spiral Remastered. Actually, you don't even pre-order. You can buy it. You can just buy it. Buy the damn thing. People are already opening boosters of this thing. You can order Time Spiral Remastered. And if you do, don't forget to use coupon code. Don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu at checkout. It gets you 5% off all your purchases and also supports the channel. We're also going to thank our sponsor, Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. Basically, the best way to play test any deck before you actually buy into it. Or if you're that type of person, just play the best deck at any given point in Modern. You can support the channel by using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or you can save 15% off your first 3 months using my coupon code Nikachu. We'll answer a few more questions as people submit deck lists. Good morning, Jarl. When are reviews starting? They're starting right now. Do you think Daze or Brainstorm would be overpowered in Modern? Brainstorm should be banned in Legacy. That is fucking ancestral. It's literally Ancestral Recall. It's so damn close. Brainstorm is the type of grossly overpowered card that has just been institutionalized into Legacy, and people are just like, well, this is just how the format is, and we're not going to change it. Brainstorm is beyond busted, thanks to fetch lands. I mean, if fetch lands didn't exist, if there's no way to shuffle your library, then Brainstorm would be fair. But because of fetch lands, Brainstorm is just beyond stupid. Days would be fine. Days would be fine. But Brainstorm... I think I can be fine with Ponder. You can draw like basically only one card, and any other good cards are still on top of your library. I can get behind Preordain. I cannot get behind Brainstorm. That's a fucked card. It's deceptively way too strong. There's a reason why Jace the Mind Sculptor was like OP. I mean, Jace the Mind Sculptor literally did draw you an extra card every turn. Brainstorm replaces itself, but it just turns trash into treasure. Art asks, do you think Modern needs more or less color hate? I like to see more, but I just don't think Magic design is going in that direction anymore. It's like, why are you punishing me for playing this color? Because that's how this game is supposed to be. I wish they go back in that direction. What's wrong with Days? Days is a tempo loss. I mean, Delver's unplayable right now. Strictly unplayable. What about Portent for Modern? Yeah, they could do that. I don't know if they would, given the current ban list, but maybe they would do that. I mean, like, Storm decks cannot abuse it, right? How would a fair Mox Opal be? Mox Amber. And that's still probably too good. I think Amber eventually will get banned one day. There's just not enough legendary creatures to abuse it. Modern needs Counterspell in Modern Horizons 2. I don't know if it needs it. I would gladly welcome it, though. Fuck Deprive bouncing my shit back to my hand. I saw so many comments about Fair Mox Opal. Like, there's no Fair Mox Opal. Fast mana is fast mana. Okay, I mean, okay, there might be one way of making Mox Opal fair where there's a clause that it's 0 mana but can't be cast until turn 4, for example, or turn 3. So you do get fast mana eventually, but you just can't have it on the earlier stages of the game. That might be the most fair way to design a Mox for mana. So you can have literally a Mox, but you cannot it'd be like, yeah, it would be similar, or you give it suspend or something. I don't know. Something like that. Like, that's the problem. What do you mean, Portent? You made an entire video. Well, I mean, we're just saying, like, it'd be fair for Modern. Like, they could reprint that. Control got a lot of stuff. Control's been hurting, though. The good Control players are still winning, but, like, run-of-the-mill random people are not. I know, I did describe Lotus Bloom, but, like, that's a black Lotus. That's a fair black Lotus. What's a fair Mox look like? Oh, Mox Tantalite is, you might be right, yeah. There's your fair Mox. I totally forgot about this card. I forgot that it has Suspend. I was aware that the card existed. Suspend 3. Usually you don't even have to wait that. No, you do have to wait long. So hold on, turn 2 has 2, turn 3 has 1. Yeah, you get it on turn 4. They fixed it. And in Modern Horizons, there's your fixed Mox. And they were thinking exactly as I just said. Because you can't use it immediately. Like, who gives a fuck how much mana you have on turn 4? You can have all the mana in the world by turn 4, because it's turn 4. So if you can win the game on turn 4, all right, that's fine. That's fair. But having access to that on turn 1, 2, and 3, no, bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna start the reviews. I actually don't have that much time today. What am I doing? Elementals by the Scrub and Scrubs. Whose list is this? Swordman Josh. What the hell list is this? I mean, what website is this? The fucking ads are crazy. Are they gonna be the same ads on? Or is this a site that I've been on, but I don't remember? Okay, check this out. Yeah, I wonder why more people don't play it. Well, because it's fair. No one plays fucking artifact decks fair. Elementals by the Scrubbin' Scrubs. Yes, counterspell would snap, replace, deprive. Okay, Elementals deck. Let's look at Voice Resurgence, the Spite Bellows, Mast, Vandal. That's not a bad one to have in the main deck. Fulminator Mage, Incandescent Soul, Stoke, Omnath, Mirror Entity. Is this necessary? Until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness. I don't know if this is necessary. But I don't remember like elemental lists. Smoke Braider, this one's fine. But I heard it was on the crappier side of, and maybe like worth replacing. Phantasmal Image is fine. Vesper Lark is good. Thunderkin Awakener is good. It combos with Lightning Skelemental. Risen Reef is like the soul of the deck, basically. Flamekin Harbinger is good. Birds of Paradise. That necessary? Oh, I guess so, because you can't really use Noble Hierarch. It doesn't synergize with Skelemental at all. 3 Ether Vial. 3 Lightning Bolt. Did all the lists play 3? I thought they played 4. I could be wrong, though. 3 Lightning Bolt. Do you have the mana base for this? For a Lightning Bolt? So why are you playing this incredibly damaging mana base? Just for... That's how it is, just for Lightning Bolt, right? Or you have some, like, very important sideboard cards. Ravenous Trap, not really. Like, you're not actually casting these cards. Pithing Needle... What is the point? I don't know if all of this is worth Lightning Bolt. First off. This is your deck. Isn't this your deck? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was your... Nightbot, you submitted your deck right after I picked mine. Or no, you didn't submit. Like, Nightbot is giving me some nonsense. Sorry about that if I gave some false thought you were picked. Cheating your elementals is good. Anyway, okay, so here's a problem I have with Lightning Bolt. I don't even think this is like well positioned. Like, it doesn't kill Death Shadows, doesn't kill anything out of Jund, really. I don't know if it's worth having the fetch lands and the shocks. I would just have, and if you have the Cavernous Souls already, like, I would say maybe don't play this because the Cavernous Souls is, very damaging, but just play with Unclaimed Territory and a bunch of other painless land, or not painless, but you can play with, what's called the Horizon lands. Like these Bloodstained Mires and all these shock lands, it seems painful. Or is there a reason for this? Like, is there something about Risen Reef I don't know about? Whenever Risen Reef or another elemental under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into your hand. Sorry, no, if it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand. What a weirdly worded card. Oh, okay. So actually, thank you very much, Alfred James. How many? But we have only one Omnath. Is that really worth it? You know what? I mean, it's not nothing. I'm gonna say it's not nothing. How many fetch lands do we have? 4 Wooded Foothills, 3 Bloodstained Mires. Okay, you sold me a little bit on this. You sold me. The ultimate problem with elementals, I would say, in Modern right now, is that it does a lot of fancy stuff, but it doesn't push damage very well. Like, that's the ultimate problem with elementals. Like, they need, like, a lord. And maybe that's what Mirror Entity is for, but the problem with Mirror Entity is it costs you mana. And the fact that you only have 3 Ether Vial, you're sitting on 3 Ether Vial and more on, like... You're going to be tapping out, is what I'm trying to say. You're going to be tapping out more often than not. I would prefer to have 1 less land, 1 more vial. I could be wrong here, because the curve is very high. It's high enough that I like the 21 lands, to be honest. I like the 21 lands. 21 lands is good. Pyre of Heroes? No, that's mana intensive. Or it needs the right deck to get value out of it. You got the Voice of Resurgence. To be fair, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with the deck. I'm not thrilled with Lightning Bolt, but if you find value in it, then maybe go for it. But I'm just giving fair warning. I think this is very painful. This is you're gonna take a lot of damage off of your fetches. So that's my only criticism. I don't know if this is worth it for Omnath. Like, I genuinely don't know. Especially since we're living in a world where Scourge of the Skyclaves is a pretty popular card, and you fetch once or you shock yourself once, and Scourge of the Skyclaves is online. Oh, is this is your deck? Scrub and Scrubs, right? Whose Decklist out do I have? Yeah, the Scrub and Scrubs. Sorry, I'm a little behind the live stream. Well, you just have to refresh the card. But that would be my only big concern. I mean, everything else is fine. Fulminator Mage, Damping Sphere, Ravenous Trap, Leyline of Sanctity. These are all good cards. Overall, deck is built well. I mean, maybe you can take out one Smoke Braider for something else. Because this is not really that great of a card. Add 2 mana of any combination of colors to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast elemental spells or activate abilities of elementals. Very small, very weak, easy target to like any removal. 1 toughness, very dangerous. A lot of these cards are too fancy. Master of Waves is too fancy for this deck. I mean, maybe add more Omnaths, but I'm not sure if the payoff is there. But I could be totally wrong. Like, I don't want to underestimate Omnath. Omnath is a fucking beating. This is a very strong card. This is obviously a very, very, very strong card. Sometimes it can win by itself. I'm just giving the advice that but this Omnath has to pay off. Because if it doesn't, this mana base is very painful for no reason. So that Omnath has to be really good. And maybe this is a good suggestion. Maybe we add 1 more Omnath. Like, take out, I'm not sure what we take out. Maybe 1 Vesperlark to add another Omnath so you consistently get it out, because this is it's a big cost. Like, what if you don't ever get an Omnath out? What if you don't? Why don't you have what happens if you don't get an Omnath out? Then you're shooting yourself in the foot with your mana base. Scrub and Scrub says, I cut a vial because turn 1 birds, turn 2 Risen Reef, Scaly Fulminator is super solid, and I'm trying to lower bad late game top decks. Yeah, but the Birds of Paradise is the same thing, right? I don't mind turn 2 acceleration. That's not bad. Okay, if you crush shadow decks, then there's no problem. But anyway, I'm sure you're going to hear all my feedback as it catches up to your lag. Thank you very much for submitting the list. And hope something was... If you know your deck, if you know the situation, and you're not afraid of taking the damage, then I think this is okay. I think this is okay. Moving on. I got to speed run this. Dunk Block. Congratulations, you're the next contestant on Decklist Review. Serum Powder Eldrazi. So basically Eldrazi aggro, but with Chancellor of the Tangle. Is that necessary? So you can ramp out your... This is like a crappy Simian Spirit Guide, right? So, but this is a very bad top deck. Like, this is terrible. At least if you top decks, like, Simian Spirit Guide on turn 2, you can, like, ramp out a Thought-Knots here. So you got Eldrazi Mimic, Eldrazi Obligator, Eternal Scourge, Matter Reshaper, Thought-Knots here, Reality Smasher, Chancellor of the Tangle, 3 Dismember, 4 Chalice of the Void, 4 Serum Powder, 2 Blood Moon. How much red mana do you have? 4 Eldrazi Temple, 3 Gemstone Caverns, 4 Ghost Quarter, Lantern Lit Graveyard. Add black or red to your mana pool. It doesn't untap during your next untap step. Just no. Just play the Pain Land. That's way too high of a liability. 2 Mountain, 4 Sulphurous. Oh, you have the Pain Land already. Is this budget? It has to be budget. Waste. How many red sources do you have? 1? No. It's not even 4, 5, 6, 8, potentially 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Potentially more if you have gemstone caverns out. I don't think you have enough red sources. Also, I don't know if you want to run Blood Moon. I mean, I guess you can. We can't play the filter land. You need the mana. The comment disappeared. Okay, so you want to play... Okay, so first off, I think the Eldrazi are fine. Chancellor of the Tangle, very dubious, especially since you don't have any way of discarding this card. I would just rather play like another Matter Reshaper, another Obligator. I don't know if you'd be... What is the cost of this deck? It's not cheap. I don't know if you'd be open to this, but somehow I feel like you might like red-green Eldrazi, if you ever heard of it. Like, it ramped with, like, Birds of Paradise and Noble Hierarch, and it ramped into, like, turn 2 Matter Reshaper and turn 3 Thought Knot Seers. Tested a bit. Red sources are a bit too much. What does that mean? You mean you have too many? You have too many red sources? I don't think you have too many. I think you have definitely too few. Like, you're not casting Blood Moon on time, if that's what you're after. And then when you do, it shuts off Eldrazi Temple, which maybe is fine if you're playing the Blood Moon to knock out your opponent. There's all sorts of problems. Like, I don't... Actually, Blood Moon doesn't work in this deck, because you do need enough colorless sources to make Blood Moon work. Otherwise, you can't even cast your deck. You can cast, like, Eldrazi Mimic. You can cast Eternal Scourge. I just don't think Blood Moon is worth it. Just get rid of this card. This doesn't work at all. Concept of the deck is turn 1 Chalice for 1. Yeah, I get it, but you need them both in your hand, and you're not even playing 4 of these. It's high risk. It's high risk, low reward, because if you're on the play, you don't even know what you're up against, and turn 1 Chalice on 1 might be useless. Like, it'll be good against some decks, but then you'll be up against, I don't know, Heliod combo, and then they'll just... I mean, they won't get their turn 1 Mana Dork out, but they'll just combo off against you. What else can I say? Yeah, Blood Moon, I think will fuck you over more than you screw over somebody else. I mean, I don't mind Eldrazi Obligator. I mean, this is a good tempo swing. Well, the person just admitted that this is a bit of a budget deck, so Burn Wills will be too expensive. But this is just a huge tempo loss. You just can't play this card. I would just play more mountains if I could. Okay, I mean, you need more. Okay, you need more red sources. This is just way too few. I mean, you'll have it if you have Gemstone Caverns on the draw, but not on the play. Instead of Zal, Farron Void, add another red. Like, add another mountain if you have to. Add mountains instead of Lantern Lit Graveyard. You have enough colorless sources. Gemstone Caverns, 4 Cavernous, 4 Ghost Quarter, 4 Sulphurous Springs, 2 Waste. So you have enough color. You have enough colors, but you don't have enough red. Yeah, don't Blood Moon yourself. Recently, I took out red cards and leaned towards the Manlands. Manlands might be okay, because you have something to do on turn 1. I would up this to 4 Dismember. Instead of Blood Moon, I would just have more early interaction. Like, you don't even have many things to do on turn 2. Like, play more, what's it called? What's the 2-mana +3, -3 card? Or no, you can just play Well, you can't play Lightning Bolt in your Chalice. No, you do have a turn 2 play. You want to play Chalice on 1, which is fine. My only problem is if, like, this is becoming like sort of a worse Eldrazi Tron, is my problem. You might be better off. Like, Anger the Gods doesn't even work in your deck because you kill off your own creatures. I mean, sure, you can cast this from exile. Exile is... You may cast Eternal Scourge from exile, but you still wipe out, like, Matter Reshaper and Eldrazi Mimic. You're doing 2 things at once. They're not working very well. Like, this is why, like, Eldrazi Tron doesn't play with any of these cards, and they do have Chalice of the Void because that's totally fine within their strategy, and they're playing with Dismember, and they're playing with like some really good top end stuff. And then when they just play random random Tron lands, and if they just happen to have the Tron lands, boom, they have 1,000,000 mana, and they just wipe their opponent out with like big creatures. Warping Whale is a bit too situational. I wouldn't say it's unplayable without Simian Spirit Guide. I mean, it's slower, of course. I think Simian Spirit Guide was a little overrated, in my opinion. I think that card was overrated. I like Gemstone Caverns more. It wasn't Nameless Inversion. What the hell was that card? What is the Eldrazi card? Target creature gets +3, -3. Spatial Contortion? Spatial Contortion. Target creature gets +3, -3. Where have you been, chat? You've been sleeping. No, this is a modern staple, and everyone's asking me about Nameless Inversion. Again, Nameless Inversion. What the hell is Nameless Inversion? Maybe it's the same thing. For some reason, no one knows Spatial Contortion. Oh, this is literally the same thing, but for Changeling. This is just for Eldrazi. Nameless Inversion looks cooler. Okay, so here's my advice. You gotta cut out Blood Moon. You have to. If you want, put like main deck a Braid or something for the main deck. You have to reduce all these red cards. If you want red just for Eldrazi Obligator, I can get behind that. I could get behind a Braid. I could even get behind Cleansing Wildfire because it doesn't get tripped up by Chalice of the Void on 1. You need to up for Dismember because you don't have anything else to do on turn 1. You need more things to do on turn 1 on the games that you don't have Gemstone Caverns of. When you have Gemstone Caverns, it's going to be good. If you don't have Gemstone Caverns, it's going to be pretty poor. I would dump Chancellor of the Tangle. This is just too clunky. It's just a crap Simian Spirit Guide. Like it's really bad. This is going to be this is just going to be an awful top deck when you get a top deck. And like you're playing for the late game more or less. I think you'll be fine playing Chalice on 1 on turn 2. You don't need it always on turn 1. You can't play Oblivion Stone in this deck because you have a bunch of creatures of your own. Anger of the Gods doesn't work in this deck. Unless you just were only top-heavy cards like Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher, Eternal Scourge. Then I could see it, but you just have too many things that are just going to get nailed by your own Anger of the Gods. You'd be more... Well, you can't even play Kozilek's Return in this deck because all your creatures are too big. You have to add more mountains. Get rid of the Void. Or maybe you can have less because you can play this thing as a 5-drop, right? This is more of a 5-drop. Do you need more colorless lands? Because you can't play Blood Moon. Blood Moon just shafts your own deck because then you don't have the colorless mana for any of these cards. All Dust is a good card. All Dust is a good card, but I don't know if it's not gonna get cast by this deck very easily because we're not playing with Eldrazi mana. How are we even playing black for this? Infernal Reckoning. Exile target colorless creature. You gain life equal to its power. Is that for yourself to gain life against your own creatures? It's just too fancy. You don't have time for that. You can't do that. Unless that's a sideboard card. But like again, for like the Eldrazi Mirror or something like that. But even then, I wouldn't play it. You just don't have the black sources for it. You don't have anything close to that mana. You're actually operating as a 3-color deck without having anything close to the mana. So you can't play with that card. Leyline of the Void is fine if you want to play it because you're not casting it for mana. You're just hoping it's in your opening hand. And you have Serum Powder to find it. So that's totally fine. Maybe you want more Leylines given that your deck's set up better for a Leyline. I would recommend Lightning Bolt, but the problem is A, not enough red sources, and B, they want to play Chalice on 1. So it's going to be a non-bow. Well, that's what I said. I mean, that's a very different deck. There is such thing as red-green Eldrazi that you can play. But like, so like what I'm trying to say here looking at this deck, you have so many non-bows, this doesn't work. You got to choose a plan. And I would say be less prison. Like Chalice of the Void works fine in Eldrazi because they barely have any 1-drops. But when you play Blood Moon, you're going to fuck your deck over. you're going to end up in a situation where you ruin yourself more than you ruin other people. Same thing with Anger of the Gods. You're just going to kill off your own creatures. It's not going to be like a 3 for... It's going to be like a 3 for 3 or a 3 for 2. It's not going to be the value that you want it to be. Abrade is fine. Like, I think that's good early game interaction. I like it. You don't have that many things to do on turn 2 if you're on the play. You have like Chalice of the Void, you have Eldrazi Mimic, you can add, you know, Abrade to the mix, but you just need more red sources to make it work. Hopefully Ghost Quarter is worth the land slot. I would just play another Eldrazi instead of Chancellor of the Tangle, or maybe these can be your Abrade slots. Yes, you were right. Red Green Eldrazi is one of my modern decks. I enjoy it very much. And it's totally legit. That deck is legit. Just people forgot about it. Yeah, you could add Defense Grid in the sideboard. That's totally fine. But I mean, you got to come back with a fixed version of what you've suggested, because this is mostly just a lot of non-bows. A lot of non-bows together. I mean, Blood Moon works best in... I bet you could make this card work, but you'd have to change it by a lot so that you can get wastes in play more reliably. But like, it's just not here. Why not jam Trinisphere? Trinisphere is not that great, actually. It's fine if you can like Karn into Trinisphere and play it on the same turn with Eldrazi, like with Tron mana, 7 mana. But outside of those situations, like it's a bit clunky itself. Wasteland Strangler doesn't work at all. You need to exile your opponent's cards to make Wasteland Strangler work. Anyway, those are my suggestions. You got to clean it up. You got to clean the plan up. Too many non-bows. Hope that's some useful feedback. Come back. Build the deck better. It can be built. We can do it. It can be done. All right, everyone, that's going to be it for Coffee and MTG. I'm going to make a quick outro. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. It was great. By the way, all the replays are, of course, on Nikachu MTG streams. And I got to thank everyone for showing up and being a part of making me part of your daily routine, because without all of you, I have no conversation. I'd be just talking to myself for basically an hour and a half. That's boring. Because of all of you, you make the show possible. So thank you very much for showing up, as I show up for you every single weekday. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to know when the show is happening, it's always Monday to Friday, 9:00 a.m. Central Standard Time. So keep brewing up that coffee, and we'll keep brewing up magic. See you guys next time.